Amazing. How are you?
Good. I was just chatting it up with a few people, and I just actually pulled a card from the Earth Magic deck that I hadn't read out loud, but it's dance,
Nice.
which is so perfect because I've been really getting into my dragon dance lately.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that deck. That's one of the first decks that I really worked with, and I've had it for a long time. I love that deck.
That's
Yeah.
the very first deck that I ever worked with, my friend
Nice.
gift. Yeah, that's so cool. So Luna, I love that you asked to go live with me because I recently came across your profile. I came across one of your videos and I like instantly lit up and I'm like, yes, like I'm not alone. Like there's other dragon priestesses and other dragon guides here in human form. And I haven't come across another one that like another soul that I resonated with the way I did with your soul, like instantly, and I could
Mhm.
feel like the purity of your intention. And as you know, with dragons, they're like pendulums for truth and mistruth. And when there's like mistruth or when there's like negative energy, it's like the lower chakras get all turny and twisty. And when it's like high vibration, pure love, like the heart chakra gets like all like beamed out. So I got like very excited. My energy got very excited with your content. And I had come across a content creator when I first got going, like back in February, March, who considered themselves to be a dragon witch. But
Mhm.
the content was just not at all in alignment with like the downloads and the guidance that I'm getting. But
Right.
I videos, I specify dragons of the light because with
Right.
any group of beings, there is a spectrum and there can be the lower vibrational ones and the negative ones. So, but yeah, I love that you're into the dragons. So, like, tell me, like,
Yeah.
tell
Well,
me.
I feel the same. I felt the same with you. I started. Yeah, I got the download that I needed to start making these dragon TikToks, and I was like, okay. And I didn't realize, like there was such a community already. And I was like, oh, there's all these, now I'm looking at the hashtags and seeing other creators. And it definitely resonated with you more so than others, which is why I reached out to you. But yeah, I feel that in having discernment, with working with these energies, because there can be a lot of like illusion with it, and the superiority or like the ego coming through, and this like harshness and intense energy, and being like, oh, you're not worthy of working with a dragon, or something like that. And I feel like the divine dragons, I call the dragon council that I work with the divine dragons, to kind of clarify that as well, that we're working with higher frequency energy, and they really are here to help serve humanity and help us to open our hearts, and really just step into our power and our purpose in that way. And that's something that's available for everyone, as long as their intentions are also heart centered. So
Yes.
yeah.
So I have a video about that exactly. And it was, before I get into that, someone asked, Desired 183 is asking about downloads. So, are we computers now? Yeah. Basically, yes. So the
Yeah.
metaphor I use is that our brain is like the hard drive, and our thoughts and belief systems are like the software programs or the apps. And then our
Hmm.
3D reality is like the monitor, what you see on the screen. And so that's how consciousness works. And computers are just another manifestation of ways that data, information can materialize and be in the form of matter. But our brains and our consciousness works the same. So a spiritual download is when your crown chakra is open to receiving divine information from other consciousness. And then it comes in as a form, like for me, it comes in as just like information. All of a sudden I know. It can come in as a thought. It can come in as an idea. I'll give you an example with like Tiamat, who is the ancient sea goddess, which, you know, I definitely want to talk more about. Ancient water dragon, essentially. So when I first started learning about Tiamat, it first started with a comment. Someone came in the comments and referenced Tiamat. So
Mhm.
I looked her up and read a little bit about her from like the Sumerian history, and it resonated. And then I kind of like got distracted, went on my merry way. And then one morning, as I'm brushing my teeth, like the word Tiamat kept coming in. And then it kept saying like Tiamat's your relative, you're related, like you're in Tiamat's lineage. And I'm just like, wait, what? So I was just like, okay, hold on. Then I do more research, and the research that I did that day linked my genetic skin disorder that I was born with in this lifetime, linked that name of that to the Jesus symbol of the fish, the ichthyes. My skin disorder is called ichthyosis. So it has the
Mm.
ichthy and the fish symbol for Jesus, ichthyes, and then it goes back to the Dagons, the Sumerian hybrid gods that were part man, part fish with scales. So I'm just like blown away that like this. So the download was Tiamat is your relative, you're in her lineage. That came in spiritually. Then I went on to an actual computer device and researched more, and then this information started to link and connect. And so that's how it can work with spiritual downloads. That's just an example.
Absolutely, yeah. And sometimes I feel like they're subtle,
Yeah.
with the downloads, but sometimes they're really powerful and you'll feel this like almost metallic feeling in the crown chakra. Like I'll notice like parts of my lobes like opening up, and that's usually when I'm working with some kind of extraterrestrial being that's sending me a download. It's like a very intense like crown chakra thing happening. But I love that you work with Tiamat and receive that, because I also earlier this year started receiving channelings from Tiamat, and I channel light language when for myself, but also when I'm doing healings, I'll do sound healings for people, and I will just receive light language codes. And it started happening where a lot of the time where I was just saying Tiamat, 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 my Tiamat, Tiamat, and it kept coming there. I feel it like really tingly in my body when I do it. And I was just like, whoa, okay. And then realizing, well, who is the first original dragon that was recorded in history? And it's like, oh, Tiamat. And there's like some debate, whether it was she's for sure a dragon, but I immediately felt like, yeah, she's a dragon, and a very powerful creator dragon, but also a destroyer. And this is where we get into some of the fears around the energy of the dragon, because it does have that power to also destroy.
Oh, well, absolutely that. And then like what Christianity did to the dragon to purposefully demonize the dragon. Like someone in my comments right now is like asking like lizards, draconians, good luck with that, LOL. So
Hmm.
what that, you know, seeing those comments, what I pick up is like the lack of awareness, lack of information with this. And so that's a projected judgment that you got projected out towards you somewhere in your timeline of this is evil, this is bad, this is scary. Good luck with that. Like, I don't need luck because I have dragon DNA.
Yeah.
um, my lineage, so there's no luck needed. I have enlightenment and awareness to understand how to work with the darker energies, so there doesn't need to be any fear there. But it's interesting. I think what I'm learning with TikTok is that within the spiritual community, people have these like automatic responses, automatic comments, automatic assumptions on topics that they really have not researched, and it's clear that they
Yeah.
haven't and there's just like a lot of, whether it's the spiritual community or the general population, there's just this like repetitive programming that people just kind of have this autopilot response when they don't know much about something. And I wish, like, I think part of my mission and working with like the New Earth Dragons is like teaching and educating people. Like, that's not
Mhm.
intelligence right there. You're actually trapping yourself. You've been trapped into a limited view, a limited understanding, a limited concept has been placed on you, which you have accepted as part of your reality, part of your what you believe to be your intelligence, and say, yes, that it must be true. And I'm going to come across someone else and I'm just going to spit that back out. So all that really is regurgitation. And there's a lot of regurgitation when it comes to dragons, and
Mhm.
that is on that, like, oh, they associate them with the reptilians are descendants of the dragons. The reptilians, the negative reptilians, are like the fallen angels, but not all reptilians are negative, and there are positively
Mhm.
oriented reptilians who are part of the Galactic Federation who are actually here helping humanity. And they would get such a negative response if they presented themselves, like, ooh,
Yeah.
scary. So I hope that, like, part of what I want to be able to do within the spiritual community is like identify and kind of like break down some of these little mini matrices that have happened within the spiritual community. And like one of the videos I posted recently that you duetted, and someone came in and was like, what you're teaching is evil. And it's like, no, like, it, like, you've been programmed, you've been taught to believe that it's evil, and you don't even question, you just like auto response, project it, perpetuate
Mhm.
it out. And I would love to see people like slow down, pause, learn the skill of discernment, learn the skill of like actually tuning in and connecting for themselves, rather than just be like, that's not true, that's not possible. Like, try it with an open mind.
Yeah, and all of this I think comes from, is fear of people's own power and the fear of these ideas of darkness that Christianity are mostly responsible for making the dragon look like the devil or a demon, and these are demonic energies that we're dealing with, which, by the way, it's like, why do we fear demons in the first place, and then give them our power and say, oh, like, this is bad, this is going to have control over me, or this is going to affect me in a negative way, affect my reality, instead of being like, this is no problem, this is a lost soul that maybe needs a little bit of help or needs to move on to the next realm. But every entity and every being has a role, has a divine role, no matter how we perceive it, how we're programmed to perceive it. But every entity has a divine role. And I think that as dragon leaders and wisdom keepers, we're here to help really bring a lot of clarity and discernment around all these energies and entities, and how to bring forgiveness, bring love, compassion to every single entity in existence so that it can be transmuted into a higher level of thought and a higher frequency. And we can create a new earth where we can all love and accept each other, even the really dark, ugly aspects of ourselves. That if
Yes.
we're looking at us as whole beings, as source created divine beings, then we have to recognize we are one with even the ugliest aspects. And the more we can love and have compassion for those. Someone asked, did dragons actually breathe fire? Yes, dragons actually breathe fire. But this is more symbolic of, I would say, being able to clear and transmute energy with fire or with another element such as air or water, really being able to clear energy with that. And that's something, as dragon wisdom keepers, we're also able to do that with our breath and with our energy. And this is also really taught in China, and working with Qigong and Tai Chi. These martial arts lineages teach this stuff. It's really ancient. And then someone also asked, am I saying demons are good? I'm not saying they're good or bad. I'm saying that every entity has a role to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I love as you're talking, it's just like, yes, like awesome. I love how aligned we are with like our knowledge base and the energy that we're picking up. The downloads are very similar. So yeah, someone in my comments said the only encounters I've had with demons is just purely bad, and I'm a witch. So yeah, I mean, I think that there's such a spectrum, there's such a range of energies and entities out there, and I think like what's happened with this civilization and this society in particular is that we have been so pulled away from that knowledge. Back in Lemuria and ancient Atlantean and ancient Egyptian times, like the focus was what we're talking about right now. That was like what school was about, mystery school. Like they were learning to astral project. They were learning about the chakras. They were learning about the aura. Like that's what they spent their days on learning, taking Tai Chi classes, accessing and utilizing creativity, understanding the energies and how to keep their vibrations high, how to do energetic protection, like to understand how demons operate and to not fear them, to be able to work with them. And like the amount of fear that has come in to human consciousness was very purposeful, and it's infiltrated so many communities, including the spiritual community and including witches. Someone saying like, oh, I'm a witch and I've worked with demons and they're nothing but bad. Like, yeah, there are a lot of challenging demons out there, and I've worked with many of them. I've
Yeah,
been in relationships with demons. Like,
for sure. But didn't that demon serve a role in your life
yeah,
in helping you come into your power? That's the thing. And that's where, it's important to recognize the good and the bad, I feel, so that we can reclaim our power from those situations. So it's not like there's an energy cord there where they're still able to siphon your power because you willingly actually agreed to it, whether you're willing to admit that or not. On some level of your consciousness, you made an agreement to have this experience so that you could have the experience of reclaiming your power,
yeah.
which your power is never lost, but remembering like how to actually own your power in these situations, and that this gave you the opportunity to stand up for yourself and create a boundary.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, like the darker energies, the lower entities, like it matters greatly what your mindset is and how you choose to respond to the experience with them, right? And like how much fear you're fueling. So like, not to minimize, like it can be scary, they can be scary, they can be overwhelming, they can be challenging. But the more you learn about how they operate and the psychology behind them and how they work on an energetic level, like the more knowledge you gain, it should just naturally reduce that fear, right? It's like
Mhm.
same thing as like think of it like a spider, like when a little kid sees a spider, like they jump. I mean, spiders are visually threatening looking. They designed their little vessels to be scary because they're so small. And it works. It works. It makes
Right.
people are petrified of spiders. But really, like, who's going to do more damage, you or the spider? If it comes down to it, it's like we're fearing something that we could just crush in an instant. And it's the same thing with like demons. It's like you're only fearing it as much as you are because it is putting on an illusion for you. It's
Mhm.
getting into your thought process. And if you don't know how to be aware, if you don't have the awareness and you don't have the knowledge on like how to counteract that, then yes, then it can be totally frightening. And that, I mean, I have compassion and empathy for people who are in that fear state and walk life with that much fear, because I've been there. Like I too used to be in a lot of fear about a lot,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Someone said, wait, dragons, what is this? I do not believe in dragons. Oh, well, if you don't believe in dragons, move along. I'm sure there's other gods.
Yeah, it's okay. You don't have to believe in dragons.
Yeah,
And
we're
for those that do have a resonance.
yeah, I think it's interesting that someone would identify as a witch but not believe in dragons because dragons predate humans. They existed before humans, and they are co-creators with Source, and they actually were here at the birth of the original Earth. And they're here to help birth the new Earth in, and they've played such like magnificent vital roles in the universe and in our ancient history, especially with magic. Craft that it's like, to me it's like mine, it's like baffling that someone's like, I'm a witch but I don't believe in dragons. It's
Right.
like,
All right,
okay,
your power is not going to be no,
like, I mean,
that's fine, but it's fine. That's
the
your paradigm, but
yeah, the drag, like, find it funny. They think it's really
yeah.
funny because they're the ones that have guided so many witches. Like, the dragons gave me a recipe for a potion.
Mm,
Like, they've guided my witchcraft. They're
yeah.
like showing me, they're teaching me. So to imagine saying that they're, oh, I don't believe in them. It's like, well, you're discounting a great chunk of the timeline when it comes to witchcraft.
Totally. So
But
I
hey,
would love to know like how'd you first realize that you had a dragon DNA, and how did you start connecting with dragons?
so I was born with a skin disorder called ichthyosis, and it causes scaling on the skin. So I was born into the world with scales, and I
Mm.
had like a baby picture where there were scales all around my eyes and like brown scales and like on my forehead, neck, and so that caused a lot of psychological and emotional turmoil for me, as you can imagine. Like being a little child and getting bullied for that and being like the only one. I mean, I truly did feel like an actual alien as a child, the way that people looked at me and
Mm.
responded. Um, and so it wasn't until honestly like my adult life where the dragons started to really make a present. Like they really started to come in, like they're like knocking on the door. And it was like, I got hired to teach art lessons to a 12-year-old who was obsessed with dragons, and that's all he wanted to draw.
Oh.
Like that, I'm like drawing dragons, and that was back in like 2007. And they just kept coming in through people. They came in through children a lot, like children. So I'm a therapist, my 3D job. I'm a counselor. I work with children and teens. And like a client like just brings in a book with like a dragon on the cover and was like, I just thought of you. I thought you'd like this. And I'm like holding a book with a dragon, like, why did you think I would like it? Just curious, like, and so they just make their appearance in however way they can. They're just like, hello, like, we're trying to come back in your consciousness. And so going back to the skin disorder as an adult to kind of like cope with that and transmute it from an insecurity and a discomfort into like a gift, I was like, oh, I'm a fucking mermaid. I was like, I got scaly skin, like I love the water, I love the ocean, I kayak, like I must be a mermaid. And I have regions of normal skin, so then the word hybrid came in, so I'm like, oh, I'm a mermaid hybrid. And that like resonated to a degree. And then when the dragons really came in full blast in January, when I bought the book Guardian Dragons, Your Celestial Guardians by Diana Cooper, like
Mhm.
I that like drenched my soul in this like very potent dragon energy that just like woke me up. Like, like when you like douse someone with like cold water on their face and like they're like in shock, like holy shit, like what is going on here? And So that was this most recent January. Like the dragons came in like full speed once I awoken to them. And then it was like, they're like, you're not necessarily a mermaid, although you have had lifetimes. Like I had a lifetime on Sirius B. I have had lifetimes as aquatic beings. But one of those lifetimes, I was actually amphibious and my legs were more like frog legs than a mermaid tail.
Mm.
That was a fun one in the Akashic Records. I'm like, I'm a fucking frog. Kidding me? But so then the dragons started to tell me that I am a hybrid and that the scales are there to remind me of who I am. And I did an Akashic record reading once where I paid someone to read my records, and I've always asked about the skin disorder. And at the time, my consciousness wasn't ready, but what she had said is, she's like, oh, your team is just holding so much compassion for you, and you chose to have this skin disorder so that you would never forget who you are. So that's all that was revealed to me, and that was like a year or two ago. So then I go into the Akashic Records by myself, and I'm just like, who am I that I didn't want to forget? And I just started to like look at my scales, and the word dragon kept coming in, and I was like, and then I got my pendulum, and I was like, are you telling me that these are dragon scales? And the pendulum was like bing 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 bing. Like I was just like, oh shit. And then I just like tears, like I was like just like crying. Like it was this feeling of like being homesick and coming home, this like assurance and this great like love just encompassed me. And then I was like, oh my God, like dragon human hybrid. And the final piece was a dream that I had that was like so profound. This was one of my videos when I talk about the dragon DNA. So I had this dream that was so real. It was so vivid. And I was in a car. It was like 1970 something. And I was in the passenger seat of a car, and there was like a little boy in the back seat. And as a child, kids would look at my neck and be like, ew, what happened? Like, and people would always like put their hand on their own neck and like ask like what happened. And so in the dream, the boy's like, what happened to your neck? And I said, do you want the magical answer or the boring answer? And the boring to be like, it's a genetic skin disorder called ichthyosis. And the magical answer, he chose the magical answer. So then I start telling the story, and as I told it in the dream, I got like a visual as if I was like watching a movie. And there was a woman, it was like ancient Egyptian times, and there was a pregnant woman like fleeing a group of Romans, and she found a cave and she sought refuge in the cave. And she woke up to a fire warming her, and she was of course startled, like who started the fire? And there was a red dragon in the corner of the cave like looking at her, and petrified. But like within instance, the dragon thought, used telepathic communication, was like, you're safe, I'm guarding you, I'm protecting you, I'm here to help you. And she started to have a conversation with the dragon, and she was pregnant. And the dragon said that it's prophesied that what's coming in the future on Earth and to humanity, it's going to get incredibly dark. That magic is going to be used against humanity, and the humans are going to get pulled away from their magic. And the dragon said, I want to bestow humans with the gifts of the dragons so that when they're in human form, they can access our dragon powers and magic to survive what's coming. So she agreed, and so how do we do this? I'm already like, how does this work? And the dragon used thought projection, where he just used visualization of the DNA getting imprinted into the child, so that when she gave birth, she birthed the first human dragon hybrid, and it started a lineage so that the darkness is viewing what they think is a human, but that human is encoded with the dragon gifts. And those gifts, they encoded those gifts to be activated by the darkness. And how fucking brilliant and clever is that? Where if you have a prediction, if you know that there's going to be dark times and challenges, and the darkness is going to make desperate attempts to fuck with the light, like what better encodement than to make it so that darkness is what elicits the powers being activated. Someone's asking, did you connect? What is this, a poll? I don't know what just popped up. Oh, I don't want to poll. But so like that was all in this dream. Like all that information came through in this dream. And then like I woke up and I was like,
Wow.
and I was like, holy shit. Like, and then I started to scan my timeline in this lifetime. And I thought about all the adversity that I've been through, all the trauma that I've been through. And my response has been each and every time to overcome it, to rise up above it, to become more intelligent, more strong, more resilient, more creative, like each and every time. And so then like my higher self reminded me of a spell that the dragons basically infused this lineage with, which is that you encode your consciousness to respond to the darkness's attempts to pull your light down or destroy you or harm you, is responded to with like taking that energy. You know, there's like a lot of videos on spiritual TikTok about like return to sender. Like, no, you don't return it to the sender. You take that energy and you alchemize it. Right? So it's like meant to harm you. You alchemize that, and then you use it to rise up and become more powerful. And so their effort to harm you may have worked just temporarily, but then you slingshot back up and they're like, oh, fuck. Like they actually just assisted you in becoming more powerful. And now, like you once feared them, they are now fearing you. And, you know, the dark entities do actually fear the dragons because the dragons are fearless, because they're so powerful and they're so intelligent, and they don't have self-doubt, and they're so protected. They know so much alchemy, they know sorcery, like they teach witchcraft, which again, that's just silly that there's a witch. I don't believe in dragons, but like, you know, to each their own. We're all allowed to believe whatever we want. So anyways, that's a long answer, probably. That was probably more information than you were ready for.
I love that. No, that's amazing. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, alchemy. Being able to really harness it and like bring it in. And I feel like that. So I live in Sedona, Arizona.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, so there's a lot of dragon energy here. This is where my dragon memories are really activated. And then, you know, just understanding, working with the ley lines and how, you know, before Christianity, the ancient cultures, ancient Druids and Celts were, you know, really working with the land. And this goes really all over the world. Why does every culture have some type of dragon in their mythology? Well, and they didn't know each other. Like there's definitely, you know, a reason for that, because people were experiencing these divine wisdom teachers, whether they were actually in physical form or just coming into the subconscious and making us aware of like where to go. Like I recently visited a location in Arizona that was Hopi land, and I woke up in the morning, there was a lake, and I walked over to the lake and I meditated with the water, the day before this, I was working with a water dragon because I'm helping a client like learn about the elements, and we were working with the water dragon. So I go to the water and I'm like talking to the water and visualizing this giant water dragon, really beautiful. And then I go and I look at these petroglyphs from these ancient Hopi people. And then I walk down, and then there's a description that is explaining about what these petroglyphs mean. And it literally is like the Hopi people followed the water serpent in order to find prosperity for their people, for abundance. If the water serpent would guide them to the locations where they could find prosperity and stability and abundance for their people. And I was just like, whoa, that's so cool. So just the dragons really, over time have showed people where to go and been that guiding force of like where the powerful energy locations are in the vortexes and all of these kind of things. And I feel like this information is really starting to return through us, you know, through those of us that have this DNA or this remembrance within us. And we get to be the ones that are learning to alchemize and harness this energy in our own bodies, and then
Right.
being kind of way showers and guiding other people who are like, we want to know or we want to help,
Yeah.
consciousness turn around, because this is the most amazing time in our history and in our reality that we have this technology where we can share information like that, but people are also like the most vulnerable and most susceptible to influence right now. So that's why like this work that we're doing is so valuable and important for people to not get brainwashed by by the forces that want to empower us and want us to help heal the earth versus those that want to keep people enslaved.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Um, wow. Yeah, I just got to shout out. So, Amanda loves you. 1111 is super helpful. Every time I go live, she's so helpful with the comments and
Oh,
the troll. I want to say
oh,
thank you.
nice.
Yeah, I love that that you're helping Amanda. Thank you. Um, yeah, so so the dragons, they want to help humanity. Um, one of the content creators that I came across when I first started the dragon TikTok was saying that like, a dragon has to choose you. You have, yeah, like I think you were saying in the beginning, like, yeah, this like notion like you have to be worthy to work with the dragon. And the New Earth dragons, like these are the dragons that are here to usher in the new earth. And they are some of them are newer dragons, but like some of them have ancient souls that have been around for a long time, and they want to reconnect with humans because prior to Christianity, um, all those cultures that documented dragons, like they were aware of the dragons. They knew that dragons were real, and they worked with them. They called on them. And really, the only requirements, I mean, from what the dragons I'm working with have said, is like the most important thing is your belief system. Like, do you have an open belief system? Like, if you have the belief system of dragons aren't real, dragons aren't going to spend time with you.
Right.
They don't like, they have so much intelligence and wisdom and they love to teach, but they don't like to teach the resistant. And they actually get frustrated. They get frustrated with resistance because they're just like, I just can't. Like, I can even sometimes, like, in the spiritual community, it's like, oh, like frustration and anger are low vibrational. The dragons are like, we're fucking bullshit right now. We are bullshit. Like, they don't have a problem with expressing frustration
Hmm.
and anger. And it doesn't mean that they're reckless or destructive with that emotion, but there are things that can be frustrating to a dragon. And just because they're
Hmm.
high dimensional, and that's another misconception that people think like when we are fully in 5D or we're in a higher dimension, that like I've seen so many videos. It's like, you'll never experience anger. That's not true. Like
Yeah.
anger is an emotion that it's information, and sometimes anger can direct you a certain way, or sometimes anger can create a discomfort within you that then launches you to take action to move into a more divine path. Like it can serve a purpose. So I just think it's funny that, you know, so many people like see anger and frustration as low vibrational, and I've done a lot of content around that,
Hmm.
where dragons like, no, there can be like things can be frustrating. Like it can
Yeah.
be when you're like, you're almost like, you know, someone's like sick and you're like, I have medicine is guaranteed to work for you, and you like offer it with like enthusiasm and excitement, and they're just like, nah, like throw that shit in the trash, fuck that. That's how it can feel to a
Hmm.
drag. Wants to, like, they get so eager and so excited to help, and they get a little bit dumbfounded sometimes when that is met with like attitude or defensiveness, and they can intellectualize it, they can cognitively understand that, but they sometimes do like sit back like, really?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've experienced some really humorous dragons too that are kind of just like teasing and like making jokes at how humans like hold on to things though. How maybe like holding on to a grudge or holding on to like emotion and energy and not allowing it to move and feel it. And that's one a big teaching that I've received from the dragons is like how to really like express my anger and allow myself to be angry or and allowing that to like bring passion and fuel into my life. And you know that's really made a transformation and helped me come into my power again, like doing that because you know I experienced child abuse and toxic relationships and all these things where I had like PTSD and I would freeze up and I would shut down emotionally and go into a corner and like just cry and not like know how to get activated and be in my power. And I think those situations were jabbing at me enough to where it kind of moved me and pulled me into my life and as an adult to be like, no, like you don't treat me like this, you know, and I'm going to loudly express this. And I had a whole day where somebody did something not too long ago that really frustrated me. And I was like, this is common sense. How do they not know like that they should be responding to me in this situation? And I had what I do when I have anger spouts or like energy like this is I go out to the land and I scream and I'll yell and just let it all out. So I'm not harboring that energy in my body. I'm allowing it to be expressed, but not putting it on another person. You know, I'm not trying to hurt anyone, so not trying to burn anyone's house down. But you know, so releasing it and expressing it allowed me to come into the result that I wanted. It was like then it was like finally that person got on the phone with me and was like, "What can I do to shift this?" And I was like, "You know, you need to do this." And they were like, "Oh, okay." And then they did it. And it was like that it felt really good. On one hand, it was a little annoying that I had to go through that whole experience of that frustration, but I was glad I handled it and took responsibility for it and moved it. And yeah, it's powerful.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a beautiful story, and that's so educational. Someone said dragons are great for releasing and clearing too, and yes, like amazing with transmutation. I mean, that is, and they've been doing that. So, you know, I've gone into the Akash, and they've like they'll show me clips of my lifetime. They've showed me clips of me as a child and ways that they were coming in to help kind of like shift and alchemize and transmute energy. But humor is one of the ways that they will. They like, there could be all this like tension and frustration, and a dragon can come in and just make a whole crowd crack up and like alchemize an entire
Hmm.
with humor and laughter, and it's so epic. It's like, oh shit, oh damn, like, And as a therapist, like I'll use that in like a family therapy session, or even like socially, like out at a bar. Like I've done that myself where I'll just like, I'm like sensing all this tension kind of brewing and like bickering or whatever. And it's just like, ba, 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 ba. And everyone's like, ah! And then all of a sudden, like everyone's silly and you're just like, yeah, okay, let's party now. And everyone's like,
Move
yeah,
it.
like that's dragon energy coming in and just like busting apart, you know, like unnecessary drama. Like, oh no, we're not, we're going to diffuse with humor. And then like the water dragons are really beautiful at purifying with the Christ light. And so like when I'm kayaking, I sing a little song to them.
Oh.
I say, water dragons, come be with me. Spread your Christ light, set me free. And like, I just put my hands out in the water and just like imagine source beaming down this purifying light that's coming out of my hands into the water. And the water dragons are just like alongside, woo, like they're moving.
Oh.
We're just like spreading that energy and clearing and purifying. And then they will use anger as a purifier. Like one of my most favorite dragon breaths that they showed me is like when you're really angry, like, oh, like scrunch your face up. And they're like, breathe, like you got to pull the air in through your nose. So it's like, and then it's like,
Yes.
and it's like so powerful. Like there's been times like when I found out that there was a friggin' propane leak in the tiny home, like slowly killing me. And the way that the landlords handled that was atrocious. I can't even get into the details. But there was a day that I was just like, and I was like literally like primordial. And I was like snarling. I was like, what is happening? I was like, oh my, like, you know, and that false programming of like anger's low vibrational. I was like judging myself for a moment, but then I'm like, no, like what happens when I step into this and allow this? So it was like this like breath and like, and then all of a sudden I was like, whew. I was like, oh shit. I was like, that felt really good. And my whole chest like opened up. And all of a sudden I was open to like strategy. I was like ready with like, okay, let me activate my skills. Let me activate my problem solving. Like, so this anger just like blew out like all of the anxiety, fear, frustration, like a big gust of wind. And then all of a sudden it was like clarity and like go time. And I was like, oh, okay, I dig it. I liked that experience. I was like, now in the past, prior to Dragon Power activation, I probably would have gone into full blown crisis. I would absolutely be a dysfunctional puddle and like my own tears on the ground, like collapsed and like overwhelmed. That would have been me like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But energy that when you open to them, you ask them for help, and this is like what I want people to know is that like they don't care like your background, your culture, your race, your gender, your sexual, they don't give a shit about that. Like the requirement is open belief system and respect, like respect that. Like, don't goof off. Like, if they're present, put your fucking phone down, stop what the fuck you're doing, and be like, oh, hello. Like, that's what I do. Like, a dragon will just, like, all of a sudden show up in a reflection. I'll be, like, on my phone, and all of a sudden I'm like, I see you. And I am ready to receive your information. Respect and openness. And, I mean, what else, like, do you feel they require or appreciate, like, from your work with them?
Yeah. Really, like, if you are here to serve, you know, you want to be of service in some way, you're here to help humanity. You're here to be some type of guardian, and your intentions are really like, I want to be helpful. Like, help me be helpful, like to others. Not just like it's like we have the shadow aspect, I think, of the dragon, which is like greed or like hoarding, that's seen through like media, is like that, which that doesn't resonate with me, but I think it can maybe be like a shadow aspect. So if your intention is like, I want to work with dragon to like get rich, which you can, but I want to work with dragons to like get rich so I can help more people. Like that's a different kind of thing. You're going to have better encounters, and you're going to receive more information if your intentions are actually to be helpful, because they want to be helpful too through us. And that's why I think we're, on this level of receiving this information, and coming to this more like embodiment with these energies. I want to ask you about what your take is on, or if you know much about this, because I before dragons, I was really more so working with extraterrestrials, which I still work with extraterrestrials. But when the dragons came in, it was very like strong dragon. Now it's kind of like just dragon and mantis beings are like the main my main guides and beings that I work with. But I want to ask you what your thoughts are about draconian, and this term of like draconian and draconian ETs, and like how you feel that connects, and what you're saying about the dragons giving their DNA to a child, to a newborn. That really resonates with me. But I also feel like there were also potentially beings that manipulated dragon DNA without consent,
Mm-hmm.
to create more like a warrior type being, with more malicious intention. So I don't know. I'm just curious, like, what, if you have any thoughts on that, or if you've received any information about that.
Yeah. I'm just taking a breath because I'm feeling like my team just came in. They're like, "You asked a question."
Okay.
I'm like, hold on, let us get this channel ready for communication. So now, disclaimer, I'm not saying this is for sure 100% the truth. Like, this is just what I'm getting. And like part of what I've kind of learned and what I already know. But that like the fallen angels basically are a group of beings that have fallen so far away from source energy, or from the prime creator, whatever language you want to use. That there was given a choice of like to ascend or descend, and there is a spectrum of light, and light and dark, and low vibrational, high vibrational, and that there was a group that did want to so there's universal laws, and there's laws to follow within the universe, and if you don't, then there's things like karma, and there's a justice system, to balance, like a certain amount of darkness is allowed and permitted because, like you said, it serves a purpose, it plays a role. However, there can be an imbalance, and things can get a little bit haywire. And so there was a group of from the constellation Draco, Draconians, that wanted to be the prime creator. They wanted to be the top. They wanted to be the top hierarchy, and everyone to be below them. And they didn't want to follow the universal laws. They didn't want to experience karma or consequence. And so they became very strategic over time with their evolution. And as they descended into the darkness, found ways to manipulate, block, and disrupt the divine flow of energy, to block out and disrupt source energy from connecting into other beings. And you can see that, like, modern day, if you look at telephone poles and wires, like, that is like a net, just like trapping Gaia and like just disrupting the natural flow of source energy. And so they have done a lot of damage in the universe, going back to Lyra, the planet Lyra and the Lyrans, and they destroyed that planet. There's another planet called Mintaka that was mainly a water planet, like beautiful turquoise, clear waters. I definitely had a lifetime there. I yearned for it. That got destroyed. And then they've been here on planet Earth since the fall of Atlantis. And really kind of what they do is they find clever ways to evade universal law. They find clever ways to blend in, camouflage themselves in so they're not as evident. They've become intelligent with their ability to slowly hijack and overtake an entire planet, and enslave a civilization, so that they basically, their goal is to do the least amount of work, get minions to do the work for them, be able to manifest wealth without having to follow the universal laws, without having to receive karmic consequence if they don't do it with pure intention. And like, that's basically what I understand. But that they did fall, like, they come from the same lineage of as the dragons, the Draco dragons, draconians. But the dragons of the light, the ones that stay connected to source, are the closest being to source energy. So
Yeah.
like that energy is so powerful. But from what I understand, the draconians did what they could do to try to sever that and disconnect, from that. And I don't know, like, that's my understanding. So tell me what resonates there, or what else you know.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. It does resonate. I just was having, my level of discernment in seeing a lot of other people who are teaching about dragons on TikTok, but they're calling themselves draconian and using that term of draconian. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm all about embracing all aspects of ourselves, like I mentioned, and having love, unconditional love for all of it. But do I necessarily, want to identify myself with draconian lineage? Not necessarily, but divine dragons and dragons of higher light, definitely feels more resonant to me than draconian. But, also I accept if that is part of my lineage. I will accept that and try to transmute and transform um, that. Okay, I'm having hello dragon family. Hello. Okay, I'm having some more comments that I just want to share that I'm gonna get back to. Okay, someone asked about sirens. Can sirens use their mind with their voice to make people do certain things or influence people? Okay, we're not really talking about sirens, but I do teach vocal embodiment and vocal toning and awareness of these things, which can be associated with the sirens, with the song of the sirens, or the singing. And this is something that I think we can all harness. It's not necessarily just with sirens, use their mind with their voice to make people do certain things, I suppose. Okay. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
not gonna go into that one actually. Someone said I absolutely love your ladies' content. Thank you. I love how dragons were pushing me to express frustration and lead me in here also. Awesome. I think that dragons show themselves to children because they have pure hearts, for sure. And then someone said you look so familiar to me. To me, there's something about you that's drawing me in. Thank you. And then I just found out that I was royalty and a past life as a fairy. That's really cool. I definitely resonate with the fairy realm as well. Dragon Fae, I think, is its own thing as well. Like fairy dragons, I definitely connect with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone said, so Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg hoard all the gold. Well, so that's an interesting thing if we're talking about these celestial races or these other races of beings like draconians, like a reptilian, like, who is in charge of the minerals, on the planet and on other planets. Um, because to me, this has the dragons exist also within our earth and within the mineral kingdom. Uh, and on other planets as well, and work with the mineral kingdom. And that's why dragons are often represented with being the ones protecting the gold or protecting jewels and rubies and these type of things. So yeah, that's interesting. I'm gonna think about that more.
Yeah, someone in my comments said dragons are from different star systems, and yes, I mean they are throughout the universe, and they have a great alliance with the Lyrans too. That was a download I received not too long,
Mm-hmm.
where so the dragons have assisted other civilizations with fighting the dark. I'm just going to call them dark Dracos. That's
Okay.
what's coming. Someone else said something about like to remove the negative beliefs about draconians, and it's like I think that with all beings, they're all subject to be infiltrated, and they're all subject to descend, and
Mm-hmm.
that is choice. So I don't judge. I mean, I was in a very dark place within this lifetime. I know that I've had lifetimes as a reptilian. I've had
Mm-hmm.
reoccurring themes. I've been on reptilian ships, like
Okay.
spacecraft, and oh my God, their bathrooms are fucking disgusting. Like, I can't even. Like I will judge
That's
that.
funny.
Like, I will fucking judge their disgusting
They
bathrooms.
definitely need to fucking clean their shitter.
Like the feces and urine everywhere. Like they don't give a
Oh
fuck. They don't
no.
have dolls. You have to like go on a toilet that's like overflowing with like water and urine and poop and just like squat over it, and like you have no privacy. That is on a reptilian ship. I have memories. I have fucking flashbacks of this shit. And really highly advanced and highly intelligent species will choose to incarnate in as many forms as possible, into as many cultures as possible, into as many beings as possible. And even like high vibrational divine beings will choose incarnations into the darkness because it's not something to run from. It's not something to shame or shun. Like it, I don't judge the darkness. I sometimes still dabble in it, like not
Yeah.
in a destructive way. I'm not harming anyone. I never have. I always follow the do no harm rule. As a dragon, that's encoded. You can't fuck with that. Like, but yeah, like you can have moments of darkness, and I'm not necessarily judging the negatively oriented reptilians or dracos, but we do have to acknowledge them. Like, I don't know how else to, describe them or articulate what they're about without acknowledging the truth that they are negatively oriented, and not
Yeah,
all are. Like, not all are. So
not all are. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know.
And there
It's
is this like hybridization, these hybridization programs that are
mhm,
happening to where, we're taking different traits of different beings and combining them to create us and others to hopefully harness the positive qualities, from these different types of races of beings to, create more harmonious frequencies on the planet and throughout the galaxy, to where, because we're kind of moving now, we're in the Aquarian age. It's like we're moving out of the war and the destruction. We got to play around with that and see what that did. And like, it's all experimental in the universe. And it's like, let's blow this planet up. Let's start this race over. Let's see what happens when we do this. If you look at it like from a way bigger source perspective, it's like a video game, and so we don't have to take it as serious. But now we kind of see that that game got kind of boring and it just is not so enjoyable anymore. So let's choose, to alter that reality and things we enjoy more. And we help influence reality and influence the universe by choosing to be in joy and choosing to be in our creative power. But, we got to know that as creators, when we create something, that also means destruction is just the balance of things.
exactly.
So,
Yeah. Real quick. Okay. Someone
okay.
said, I think the trees in my backyard looked like dragons when I was a kid. So I have to speak to that, because something that I did when I was a child is I would look out my window at night and I would look at the silhouettes of the trees, the pine trees, and I would see dragons in the silhouettes of the trees. I would see like horns and big ears and like scales on the back and tails. And so the dragons will come through in nature. They
Mm-hmm.
will come through the trees. Like, it will be like the way the light and the shadow in the tree kind of falls. And if you let your eyes blur out, you'll like see an actual dragon. You'll be able to see through it. It won't materialize so that it's opaque, but like they will come through nature in that way. So you probably were actually seeing dragons when you
Yeah.
like those. That was probably real, really dragons.
Yeah, I feel like you can communicate. That's one way to access the dragon realm, is communicating with, again, plant and mineral kingdom, and communicating with trees, because the trees are holding that wisdom. The dragon, same with like mountains or crystals. And, if you see a dragon or some type of elemental through that, like, stop and tune into it and see if it's open to communicating with you or helping you in any way, and vice versa. I always like to, it's not like they need our help just as much as we need theirs. I believe in this reciprocity and being willing to also like do something for them first. Like with the fairy and elemental kingdoms, I like to, when I go out into nature, I like to make sure I'm going to pick up trash, for example, and I like to just leave little offerings. I recently went camping and I was like leaving little grape offerings to all the like creatures around, or leaving tobacco and things like that, just to kind of say, hey, I'm here to like be of service to you as well. It's not just about you giving me all the information. It's like, let's work together in this way.
Yes, absolutely. I want to say a quick shout out to my friend Maya, who's on here, because Maya is like a star seed cheerleader. Like,
Oh,
comments all the time, like, woohoo, like, go, like, rock it. And I just love her energy. She's just such an awesome presence to have, that support. And I just say hi, and I see you. Hey, sister, I see
oh.
you. And let's see, like, if anyone has a question. I know we've been chatting a lot, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry I'm looking at my comments as much, but Does anyone have a question about the dragons, or do you want to ask a question to the dragons? See what they have to say. Give people a moment to type.
I got one from Starry Eyes Lane, said, how can we connect more to the dragons?
Okay. You want to take turns answering this?
Sure, yeah. I think I feel like really it's just having that intention. Like you're already starting to connect with the dragons by being here, and talking to others that believe in dragons. And also just like beginning to welcome them into your reality. Like for me, I feel like dragons love having symbols of them around. Like my whole little casita, like a little apartment, and it's just like I have a lot of dragon objects, and I have dragon skulls on my altar that I work with, and I'll bring them out into nature and bring them to the land. So that's one way. Um, that you can invite them more into your reality is actually bringing the symbols of them, and also just meditating more and really just inviting them to work with you.
Yeah.
Any other tips you have?
Yeah, I think for me, what's really helped me connect with them is spending time in nature and calling them in. So I just say, dragons of the light, come be with me now. Surround me, guide me, guard me, protect me, show me the way. That just, I mean, you can come up with, I just came up with that. Like, just come up with your own little saying.
Mm-hmm.
Invite them in, let them know that you want to work with them. And like Luna said, you have to have a good intention, and the more you want to help humanity and help Gaia, help Earth, the more they're going to help you achieve that goal. They're not really into self-serving types of requests. So just ask and be open and look for them in the sky. They take form in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
They'll take form in a water reflection. If there's like a puddle, and just like stare into the puddle, like they'll come through light reflections, refractions. I have received some transmissions through crystals,
Mm-hmm.
where I hold the crystal in the sunlight a certain way, and like this, oh my God, like one time this blue dragon eye came through one of my crystals, and it was like so powerful and potent. Like I like had to take a step back, and it was just like, whoa. I was like, oh wow. So like they'll come through, and a lot of through the elements. They come through fire, water, air, the earth. So the more you connect in with the elements. Someone did ask a question on my end. What is my connection? So my Reiki flows asked, what is my connection with them? Well, you're an energy healer. You're working with energy. And so dragons, you most likely have a dragon as a guide on your spirit team. You most likely have a past life where you connected and worked with dragons. I just got like Celtic, ancient Scotland, Ireland. There might have been a past life there where you work with them. But I mean, so like that's going to be truly for you to discover. I do steer away from giving people like an absolute answer to that. I give like possibilities to open your consciousness up to some ideas. But when you want to know what your connection to something is, it is helpful to receive a reading or have someone go into your records or have a psychic tell you. But what the dragons want you to know is you know. You know the answer. And they want you to quiet down, still the mind, and remember. That's what they want me to tell you. They don't want me to tell you the answer because, we're like, when we are like, I want to know, you tell me, and then I tell you, like, there could be a distortion. You know, when someone's not a clear channel, there sometimes can be a distortion, or they get like a little piece and they're not sure. They might add their own little piece into it without trying to be malicious and deliver you a message that isn't 100% accurate. And then you take that information and you lock into it, where the dragons want you to open up to your higher self, to your spirit team, listen. The answers will come in, you will know, and then you can look for confirmation in the external world. The confirmation could be someone, then you go to a reading and say matches to what you experienced. But that is something the dragons really want humans to get back in touch with, is their own divinity, their own gifts and talents, their own wisdom, their own knowing. And that, you know, we have this culture where people are too quick to seek the answer from someone else, where the dragons say, like, you know what? Here, do this. You put these two fingers on your third eye and you just say, I remember what I need to know in this moment, in the here and now. I remember what I need to know for my consciousness and my evolution. And that is a great way to just activate that third eye, connect in with the Akash. You know, another quick thing that you can do is one hand over the other, over your heart center. And you can just call in your spirit team, your higher self, spirit team, higher self, come be with me now. Please bring me the information that I seek. Please help me recall the information I'm asking for. Help me clear any doubt. Help me silence and calm down any clutter. Help me remember how to listen. And that's the stuff the dragons want you to learn. And it's really, I mean, what did you just notice with that, Luna? Did you feel like how
Yeah, definitely. It's really powerful to tune into your own body and um, allow that energy to integrate in your own body, and like remembering, like, yeah, you do know that is so essential on your spiritual path. It's like, yeah, people can help you create a clearer image, but only you really have those answers in you, what's true for you.
yeah.
Somebody, and this kind of goes with this question, is somebody asked, I have a dream, or wait, they said, to the dragons, how much of your technology have you lost? And then they said, I have a dream. Dream is that all the technology will be restored. I believe this with my whole heart, the restoration of your technology. And my response to that is that the dragons haven't lost their technology, but that humans have forgotten their magic and their connection to the dragon realm and to the elemental realm. And it's that actually we've forgotten, not so much that they haven't, but like it's time for us to turn on our memories. And I do believe that with the fall of Atlantis and with humans turning on each other and creating war against each other is where a lot of magic was lost. And there was some kind of siphoning of energy, and with, again, later on with Christianity, and turning us against ourselves and turning us against our own magic and our own abilities, which is where the technology or the magic was lost, because we forgot that the power is actually within us, and that connection's within us. So
Right. And that's what, you know, one of the dragon's passions are to teach empowerment. They love, you know, one of the things that breaks dragons' hearts is a disempowered human who believes that they're like the dragons get really sad at that. Like when I'm in counseling sessions with children who are really
Mm-hmm.
depressed, like hopeless and helpless, like the dragons are like, no, no, no. Like there's really amazing things on the way, and everything can be restored. And I've done videos on this over time where whether it's like a video of like the salt tray magic that I do, or I'm doing my dance, but a consistent download that the dragons have shared with me repeatedly. And one of their abilities is restoration. Everything can be restored, because think of this, like the Akashic records is like an iCloud where like every file that's ever been created gets stored etherically, energetically. And on a planet, in a third dimensional planet where there are physical vessels and beings like humans and animals, that is the materialization of basically a blueprint. That blueprint is up in the Akash. And so that blueprint can include anything from any structure, from technology, remedies, magic, spells, sorcery, like everything that's ever existed is stored in the Akash. The only thing that gets destroyed is the physical manifestation of that information. The physical matter
Mm-hmm.
is what gets destroyed. But everything, so like Atlantis is returning. And what that means is that like that ancient knowledge, so Atlantis may have been destroyed and part of it went under, down to the ocean floor. But it can be restored because we can access the blueprints to those buildings. We can be shown, the dragons can assist us in downloading and building and repair. I mean, it can all be reestablished and restored. And then add the technology. The technology that we have, though, and I'm curious about, Luna, your experience, because I think the technology that we have right now is garbage. Like, I get
Mm-hmm.
so frustrated on it. I always have, like, there's something out there that's way faster. Like, and some of my videos where I'm doing like this type of like light language movement, this is like me working like some energetic technology. I'm like tapping at a keyboard. I'm like, like there is energetic technology that exceeds these little devices, the little, little, I can't stand
Mm-hmm.
it. Autocorrect. And I don't know. I
Yeah.
think that the current technology we have is actually quite antiquated. Honestly, it's like not really that advanced. So what's
Right.
coming, what will be restored, is going to be mind blowing.
Right. And what I remember from Atlantis, and being around in this time was that, we were living actually very simply. It wasn't like this whole like super galactic, like maybe you envision like Star Wars, or like, just like this kind of sci-fi type of realities. It wasn't actually like that. Because our technology wasn't necessarily existing outside of us, it was actually existing within us. So we were more aware of our abilities to communicate telepathically. And we
Mhm.
had abilities to do telekinesis. And this is how we were able to build the pyramids and build these outrageous structures, was through frequency and through sound and through our own technology that was actually in our bodies and alchemizing this way versus like, yeah, having to rely on a device outside of us. So I feel that like as we are learning how to come into our power and realize that we do have these innate gifts and things inside of us, and we're less dependent and reliant on our technology outside of us, then that's where like the bridge is going to happen to where we are able to like, yeah, we have like a hologram, you know, like, yeah, I'm like, I want to make art in like a holographic way where I can like collage my reality and I can like collage my room and like it's all this like multi-dimensional like experience versus yeah, like having to have this like phone thing in my hand that I have to look
Uh,
at to communicate. But
yeah. So one of the downloads I received over the winter, I was using an app called Procreate to do art,
mm-hmm,
and a lot of dragon energy came through the digital art, and it's in my videos. But like one of the things that I got is like as I was like playing around with the different colors and the brush strokes and kind of seeing what happened, like what's this do? Like what's gonna happen here? I got like the direct download of like that is what a creator does, a creator god or goddess, but like up in the ethers. And then they showed me, like, I'll have to find the image. I'll try to make a video on it. But they showed me this image of like a goddess, like in the etheric realm, like with her eyes closed and her hands out, like visualizing something. And it's like little spark. And then down below is like another little spark. And then it turns into like a butterfly. So
mm,
she like manifested this butterfly through just conscious like visualization and thought projection, and then the light particles came together for it to materialize and have like a visual sense to it. So it's like as we move up into the higher dimensions and as we connect back in with the source, the gods and the goddesses within us, and we realize that we are creators and we get to dissolve all the limitation, the restriction, all of that will be gone out of our way. Like people are going to be able to create their own worlds. And what's so cool, and I've gotten glimpses of this, they have shown me this in the Akash, is that I'm going to pick, okay, hey, Brandon. Hi, Brandon. That's one of my followers. Hi, thank you for being on here. I'm going to use you as an example, right? So imagine like Brandon steps into his creator God self, and without limitation, Brandon creates this amazing land, and there's like rope swings and there's zip lines and there's pools and there's waterfalls, and maybe Brandon really loves zebras, so there's like creates this whole like reality based on like his passions and his loves. And he's a blue butterfly man, blue butterflies everywhere, a blue butterfly man, purple smoke, whatever Brandon wants to create. And then Brandon could be like, he could like beam an image to me and be like, check out what I created. You want to come see? And I'll be like, oh my God, yes, like we'll coordinate that. Like, how do I want to get there? Am I going to portal it? Like, am I going to just like, how am I going to connect into Brandon's reality and world? But like, that's how advanced it can get, where like, if someone could design a stargate
mm-hmm,
in higher dimension, and you could open that stargate up for other souls to experience, or it could be a closed stargate where it's just for you to experience. But like that's what they started to show me when I was just like drawing on my iPad and Procreate. They're like, you as a human are creating art, you know, in this 2D sense here, but like think of a creator, God, goddess, manifesting a whole friggin' planet,
mm-hmm,
designing the water and the mountains and the trees and the plants, and thinking of an artist like, oh, I'm going to put a little texture here. I'm going to put like, oh, I think I'm going to put maybe like a vine over here and some red flowers over here. Creators are like, I'm going to start with a sphere of rock and dirt. Like,
yeah, what can this form into?
and the dragons are co-creators, so they love creativity and they love to merge,
Mm-hmm,
because just think about like there's no way to ever be bored if you can just navigate the cosmos and come across other beings and civilizations and species and be like, how can we work together? Like, what could we create together? You know, when you think of like a time that you connected in with someone you clicked with and you came up with an idea together and you're like, oh shit, like, yeah, like that feeling. Like, imagine having that experience with the dragon. What are you going to create? Like, so a question to all the viewers right now, like, what would you want to create with a dragon if you were to co-create, if you were to merge in consciousness with the dragon? What would you create? What would you make?
I love that. Yeah, please let us know.
And my battery is getting low, and so I'm gonna probably have to go and wind down. But someone said new here, Jessica. Jessica is new here. Are you talking about little dragons, like in our physicality, or like spiritual? So, well, both. We're talking about spirituality and working with dragons in the spiritual sense, working with the etheric dragons, but they can physically materialize. They did in the past, and they will again. And it's going to be pretty epic.
We're here to co-create that with them and bring them back to life.
Right. So to be like a certain frequency for them to materialize in the physical. And they are, you know, they're particular about like how they present themselves. When it comes to an entire population that's been brainwashed that they don't exist and that they're fairy tales, I mean, would you just show up and be like, ta-da? Like, I don't know. I mean, they might. I would love that. I would be like, yes, like, that'd be amazing. Be like, I'm sorry, did you say I'm not real? And like 5 million show up. Like, I'd be all for that. But I don't know. I think that like for them to materialize, there needs to be a little bit more advancement with, like, we need to just be up on the evolution a little bit further. But I do feel like it's going to happen, and there's going to be plenty of non-believers when it does. Like when they reappear, there will be people who are like, that's CGI.
Yeah.
That's Photoshop. Like they won't even actually really believe it.
I have a friend from Thailand, and you know, she's is like dragon lineage as well, and she says her people still celebrate dragons, and they have these beautiful gatherings where they say that people do actually see dragons in the water. So, you know, for those that are ready and able like to see, then I believe yes, they do appear in the physical in that way. As a beautiful symbol, confirmation of, you know, that the world isn't all what it seems. There's so much more.
Yeah. I'll share a quick story. I was at a beach in Massachusetts, and I was not on hallucinogenics, for the record. I was not under the influence, but like there was a gray dragon, and the way it was like flapping its wings, it was like kind of moving slow. And the sun was wicked bright, and I'm like looking up and I'm like, holy shit. And it was like one of those like where like I had to close my eyes and like shake my head and like rub my eyes and look again. And then when I looked again, it was a friggin' seagull. And I was like, shut the fuck up. I was like, no, but like, no, that was so different. It was a dragon. Like I know what I saw, but then I went into doubt. I went into like that. There's no way, it can't even be real. And then in the blink of the eye, it was a seagull. And I was like, no, come back. I was like, I believe you. Like, I want to see you again.
Oh.
I've seen, like, I have seen dragons take form in the rocks where, like, I
Mhm.
went to this where the way the rocks were just like placed on the earth, it looked like a dragon, like the head, the spine, the legs, the tail, and it wasn't moving, but like I could feel the dragon energy in the stone, and I was just like, I see you, hello, hi. When I've really felt the presence of a dragon, like out in nature, I'll be like, hi, hello. I'll be like, what do I do? I'm like, do I bow? Like, I don't know. Like, I just like freak out. I'm like, do I get down on a knee? Like, do I make eye contact? Do I not make eye contact? I don't know what to do. What do I do? And the dragons are like, just shut up. Just say hello. That's it. Just hi. Like, okay, hi. I guess so. Like, I mean, their energy is so epic. I guess so excited.
So good.
Let's see. I got a couple comments here from Brandon. As you see the beauty in all, you hold gratitude for all, then divine unconditional love for all, then truth, family, more magic. You see brings more magic that births real belief in what you already know to be true. Body, family, not just blood. Yeah. I think the way that physical reality works is you see what you believe, not the whole like I have to see it to believe it. I think that we see what we've been conditioned to believe. And the reason why a lot of these mythical creatures are not making a presence is because the collective has been conditioned to not believe that they're real, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I just think that's created, like, I don't know how to explain it, but um, I think that belief systems have so much power in what you experience in your outer reality that this, like, oh, that's not real, that's fairy tale, that's make believe, and to mock and make fun of it, it almost like just perpetuates that limited belief. It just like locks it in, locks it in, and locks it in some more. And it's like, how or like, why would these mythical creatures even dare, like, why would they even want to enter an atmosphere with that much negativity? Like, I wouldn't.
Yeah. I I feel like there is some type of lock, yeah, like you're saying, on within the matrix, that's created by media, CIA, like manipulation tactics to help people keep people's vision only at a certain level. Um, but we can overcome that by training and training our vision and allowing ourselves to see into that and reprogramming the beliefs. A way to start doing that is just by training yourself to see people's auras and look for auras, look beyond what you're looking at, and just start training the eye in that way. Um, I have a friend on here, Alvi. So Josie said, I believe I'm connected with Quetzalcoatl as an Aztec dragon. Um, that's really awesome. Thank you for your support too, Quetzalcoatl. Do you know much
Yeah,
about Quetzalcoatl?
I do not. Um, my amnesia has not fully lifted. Let's see. Yeah, there's still stuff I'm learning. Someone's username is Leviathan Dragon. That's a cool username. The Sky
Yeah.
Dragon, temperamental. Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing is we were talking about that earlier, Leviathan. I don't know if you were here when I was saying like dragons can get frustrated and they experience anger. Like they totally can. They can be temperamental, of course. Um, Maya's saying yes. Is this supposed to be Cleopatra or Cleopatra? Needles are used to keep the frequency low globally. The needles. Cleopatra? Cleopatra needles. Yeah, well, so there's like what I was saying earlier about the telephone poles and the wires. Literally, like, I want everyone to start paying attention to the telephone poles and the wires and the power lines. Like all of that, it's like a net. It's like a net that's just like stifling Gaia's energy and disconnecting all of us from that source energy. You can, once you really pay attention to it and notice that, you can feel it. But you know what I get visions of, Luna? I get visions of dragons ripping out those telephone. I literally get like, like
I love that.
so let me do a quick channeling, okay,
Yeah.
of a primordial dragon, because this shit comes in and it's so fucking funny when it does. Okay. Okay, so I've had visions of like schools of dragons, like flocks, groups of dragons ripping up the asphalt and the telephone poles and the wires and like pulling it down, and they're just like like they're just like showing me this like rapid fire, like they're moving in this like such a fast pace, and they're chomping and their little claws like, and they are showing me that material just get completely dissolved. Like there's gonna be this like this and whirly energy of just like, and like they're gonna come in and just like dematerialize anything that has been harming and poisoning and weighing Gaia down. It's gonna get shredded. Like that's what they've been showing me. It's gonna get shredded. And when that vision comes in, it's the most satisfying feeling to my soul. It's like, imagine just like having like a rash all over you and like scabs and just like such discomfort. And then imagine the feeling of like tea tree oil and like a salt scrub like coming in and like healing that, clearing that, and then the tissue repairing. Like that's what it's going to feel like for Gaia. It's going to feel like this like incessant itch that's going to get scratched and soothed and healed. And I mean, now this is like way, I don't know when this is going to happen. This could be down the road. But the reason why all that's going to get torn apart is A, it's not necessary. We're going to have advanced technology that's going to be all wireless. We're not going to need wires. There's going to be no need for asphalt because transportation is going to be so advanced. There's going to be like electromagnetic, solar powered, like hovering shit that you see in the Mandalorian. Like, we're not going to need roads. All of that is going to get restored. Nature is going to grow back. The trees, the plants, the animals aren't going to have all these roads in their way. Like, and that's, I don't know, that could be, I don't know how long away that is, but I want it to be tomorrow.
Yeah.
Might be some time before we see that, but that is what they've been showing me. And
it's, it's going to really break people's consciousness down, and really, if it was to all just happen tomorrow, it would really put a lot of people in shock and be really traumatizing to some people. So that's why we got to experience, this trajectory in time. But I do believe that some of us can time hop and shift timelines and bring that into our own reality. But we also have to just like respect the mission that we're on right now to help illuminate and help guide the way for others to be, so we can speed up that timeline of getting there and building these more earth conscious communities and clearing the grids in that way. But I feel like we got to wrap up because it's about time. But I would love to just like maybe anchor all of this in with a little bit of a a channeling,
Mm-hmm.
and just allow both of our dragon codes to come through, and whether that be through flow or movement. And I also just want to really honor you and thank you so much,
Thank you.
from my dragon heart to your dragon heart, and all your counsel, from my counsel to your counsel. Thank you for doing the work you're doing, and also really showing up for the children in the way that you do. Thank you so much. Just honoring you.
Thank you. And I honor you as well. And thank you for inviting me on to this live. And thank you for everyone who showed up tonight. And I'm sorry I wasn't the best at keeping up with the comments, but thank you for everyone who did comment or shared something or asked something. And if there are questions that didn't get answered, like comment on one of our videos, you know, go to our pages and ask us questions. And I would love to do this again sometime.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah, I feel like this is really helpful for me to just like, bounce off and just kind of like, what am I receiving? What are you receiving? Are we on the same kind of information waves? And how can we help support each other and support our communities?
I,
Yeah.
um,
Okay. Just going to close out. I'm going to just bring forth the channeling. And if you want to bring anything through, please do. So we're anchoring the new timeline, allowing these dragons to express themselves through us. Kutia tirakua shu eko siantar hiokur entuasantia de taru shitu eko ni te makuri taru yau. Whoosh, 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 whoosh.
oh, that was beautiful. So I would like to thank you and thank you, dragons of the love, dragons of the light, and the divine dragons, for working with us and alongside of us. And may all of you continue your connection with the dragons. And let's continue to build this community together. I love it. This is awesome.
Yay. Cool. I feel our dragons are proud of us. So
I know the dragons are like, what's up? What's up?
yeah.
They're- All right. Well, have a
Cool.
great night,
Thank
everyone. Thank
you. Good
you.
night, everyone.
Bye.
Sending you all so much love. And if you want to keep connecting or have any questions for the dragons, please let me know. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I never say your name right. Always so Josie. 1111. Mwah. Thank you so much. I'll see you all soon.